Good
Good
morning,
morning,
everyone.
everyone.
So
So
I
I
feel like
feel
I'm
like I'm
echoing. I
echoing.
don't know
I
if
don't
you
know
can
if you
hear
can
me.
hear me.
You're good on my end.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I want
Well,
to
I want to
welcome you
welcome you
to the
to the
Awakened
Awakened
Soul
Soul
podcast.
podcast.
And
And
our
our
um, guest
guest
today is
today is
Lorinda
Lorinda
Carr.
Carr.
She is
She
a
is a
medium,
medium,
and she is
and
going to
she
be
is going to be
talking
talking
about
about
intuition
intuition
and
and
our
our
spirit
spirit
guides,
guides,
which I
which I
love so
love
much.
so much.
That's so
That's so
exciting.
exciting.
But
But
first,
first,
I
I
love to
love to
ask
ask
all my
all my
guests
guests
how
how
they
they
came
came
to
to
hear their
hear their
spirit
spirit
guides
guides
are
are
just on
just
their
on their
spiritual
spiritual
journey.
journey.
So there you
So there
go.
you go.
All right. So, thanks for having me on your podcast. I know you're just kicking this off and kind of bringing awareness to some people, people out there that may not, that may have questions that
Yes.
are
Yes.
interested in this kind of work or this kind of in the spiritual realm. So, any kind of awareness is good. So, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, my name's Lorinda, and I've been a practicing a spiritual practitioner for about 13 years now. Um, but only as a medium for maybe the last 3 years
Mm.
uh, that I was aware of. I think the funny part is I had no idea that I was doing mediumship. I thought you had to see the dead people to be a medium.
Oh,
Like I just didn't understand when you see John Edwards or Matt Fraser or Teresa Kabush, you're like, oh no, I see your relatives behind you. I had no idea that they meant they didn't actually see them. And so I thought you had to see,
Mm.
mm,
the dead people before to be considered a medium. So I had no idea what it meant.
Right.
right.
Where I started out with tarot cards and just have always been interested. And I remember as a kid going, I wish I was psychic. I wish I was psychic. But
Mm.
I remember like when I was a kid, I would always get in trouble for finishing people's sentences. And as
Oh,
a Gen
wow.
Xer, you didn't do that back in the 70s and 80s. You didn't do that for adults. You got in trouble for that.
Yes.
Um, so there was a lot of times where I just knew things and I didn't know how I knew things, but I just thought everybody knew things. And so I just thought maybe I was just normal, like everybody had the same things I was getting. So
Right.
fast forward to, my kids are all in existence at this point, and I'm like, I want to get back to tarot cards. And I'd had a number of psychic mediums tell me, I started going to psychics when I was maybe 22, and they
Mm.
would tell me, well, you're going to do this work. Like, I'm not psychic though. Like, oh, yeah, you are. What do you mean you're not? Yeah, you are. Just start with tarot cards.
Mhm.
So that's where I started, was just learning tarot cards, and I was overwhelmed with, learning the meanings of them, and uh, and so I would just practice on my friends. I was learning and practicing and looking things up in the book, and I was just kind of getting to know the cards. But then what I found was when I look in the book, certain words would almost highlight themselves and jump off the page at me.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. I guess I'll say that because, in a tarot book, if you're learning tarot, a tarot book can have like 25 different meanings for
Yes.
one card. They all had the same. What I learned was they have the same undertone. It's got the same undertone, but it took years for me to figure that out. So I just was like, oh, whatever jumps off the page, that's the thing that I'm supposed to say. And it resonated every time. So I learned to
Yes.
trust that. And then as I got further along, I would say things to people like to lower the expectations. Like, listen, I'm not a medium. I'm not, I'm just reading the cards, but they knew I was into it. And so I had a lot of people willing to sit good deal with me practicing on them. But then I would get messages in my head. I'd hear things in my head, be like, why do I feel like saying da 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 da? Or, a card I would know that a card would mean something, but all of a sudden something on the card was standing out differently. And so I would talk about that weird random symbol in the card and what words were popping into my head. And then
Mm.
and so like it just went on for a good 10 years of just me doing readings or maybe charging $15, for a 1 year tarot reading for
Right.
someone, just to see how it all played out and if it worked. And And then I was having a conversation with a friend who is a medium, and I was like, yeah, it was weird because sometimes I'll do readings for people and then I'll just start talking. And it's like it's not my thoughts. I'll just start talking and but I'm just doing tarot cards, but I know that the message is coming from somewhere else. But I'm not a medium or anything. And she stopped and she goes, wait a minute, what do you think a medium is? I was like, well, you see the dead people. She's like, no, that's not how that works. I'm like, seriously? What? What? And so, and actually, about 10 years ago, pardon me, about 10 years ago, I had said to my friend who I had gone to a couple mediums who said, you're going to do this, you're going to do this work. And I kept saying, no, 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 no. Well, it's not really in the cards for me. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But if I'm supposed to do this work, give me a sign.
Right.
And like a week later, I won a free reading with someone who did like auras and stuff like that. And first thing she said was, you're going to do what I do, or you're going to do this kind of work. Like, oh, that's cute. Okay. And then, and I told my friend, I was like, well, I mean, they all say that. I feel like they all just say that to everybody.
Yeah.
That we're going to do this work. Anybody can do this work, whatever. And then a week later, I won another reading from someone else. Who
Okay.
said, you're going to do what I do. I'm like, this is so weird. I told my friend, well, I guess if someone like Sylvia Brown or John Edward, because they were big back then.
Yes.
Yes. And if they were to tell me, I guess I'd have to listen. Ha! And then I won a free reading. I get a phone call out of nowhere from John Edward.
Oh my God.
Like
Are you
the
serious?
John Edward. And I
Wow.
have been a super fan since the day his show Crossing Over came on. And I was like, man, I want to do that work. I really want to do that work. And so he said, you're going to do what I do. And I said,
Now do you believe?
well, I guess there it is. Like I asked for the sign, and which is funny because that's the name of my LLC is Spiritual Insight Guidance Network. Acronym is SIGN. So that's how I came up with that, the name for my company. And yeah, he told me I was going to do this work, that I was not going to finish my business degree that I was working on, and told me all these other things that were happening, that like his reading was so spot on that I couldn't like not listen to him, And so I started doing the work, and then the just learning, watching videos, watching free videos. I was a member of his website called The Five at the time. He's constantly evolving and changing. And so I started watching all the videos and learning as much as I could. And when the pandemic hit, because I'm also a dance teacher and I was teaching a ton, I was doing all kinds of other things. I had kids at home. And so I realized I had a lot more extra time. So I started getting certified in things, taking mediumships. I found mediumship classes, took a Biddy Tarot reading course. And I actually had been doing that prior to the pandemic, where I was doing free readings for people, just as practice. Like they put the people in front of us and we were doing free readings. And I'm so ADD that I hated typing all the emails. So I started just recording videos, and I hated seeing myself on video. Fast forward to now I do TikTok. And
I seen that.
there. And so now it's no big deal for me to throw a camera on and do it. But it's just interesting to look back and see how Spirit prepared me to get me to where I am now, to do the work that I'm doing now, and to put me in front of the people that I'm in front of now. All starting back, when I was told, you're going to do what I do. And, and I didn't believe him. So I put the work in. I've got an amazing mentor through Camp Chesterfield, and her name is Glenda, Reverend Glenda Cataret. And I just love her. She's got the best little voice. I just love her. She's adorable. And she helps me with these opportunities and in my growth, and challenges me, and is big on ethics And that's the one thing that I can say that I was not getting from all the free class, the free videos and the YouTube and everything. I was getting information, but nobody was really talking about how to safely read for people, how to be ethical in the work. And it wasn't that I was unethical, but I look back and I think, oh my gosh, I said some things that just because I got the information in my head doesn't mean I should have said it a certain way. The goal is to leave people better than what you left them, and not to create fear, because there is no fear.
Right.
So,
Well, I do want to come in and say that Lorinda came to my store and did readings for people. And one of the readings we did is for one of my best friends.
mhm.
And she came out bawling. And
Oh,
what she got from that session is forgiveness from her mother. Her mother passed, and she kept going on about her mom wouldn't forgive her, her mom wouldn't forgive her, and you brought her through, gave her that, and now she's so much better. And her life is thriving. It was like she was on hold until her mother told her it was okay. And I'll never forget that. And I mean, I have chills because I've known her since I was like the third grade. And I remember her mom passing, and she said, "Well, this is not my mom's wishes, but this is all she could have done." I said, "She's forgiven you already," but she didn't accept it from me, but she did from you. So
right. And ultimately, that is, at the end of the day, that's why I do this work.
yes,
Is because it's supposed to heal and help people move on. People who are just stuck in their grief, who are lost in their religion or their belief system. And ultimately, that's how I can help people in mediumship. Is just to almost every single client I have wants to know if their loved one's okay,
yes,
or if there are any messages. And what's funny is, a lot of times they won't necessarily bring through a message. They'll just tell me what that person had for breakfast that morning,
aw,
and maybe what they did last week, or maybe what else is going on around in their world, to prove I'm still here. I'm
right,
watching everything you're doing.
right.
So
I believe that.
they do come in, and all is well on the other side. They're home. There is
Mhm.
no, I have yet to meet a stuck spirit, angry spirit.
Ego
you know,
spirit,
yeah, because ego is human. It's
right,
and it's based in fear and survival and protection. That's where ego comes from, and it protects us here in
yes,
this earth walk, and it helps provide lessons that we're supposed to learn. But on the other side, we don't have that. We're just love
right.
and light and good vibrations.
I know.
You know.
I don't
So
wanna go, but I do wanna go. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I will say this work has made me um, way less afraid of death.
Yes.
Now, of course, I have not been faced with it, so who knows, what would happen if
Yeah.
I was faced with it. Um, but I used to fear death. I used to fear it, and now
I think a
that
lot of
I've
people do.
well, because you fear the unknown. You fear, was I good enough? Am I going to go to heaven? Am I going to do? Yes, you go. You cross over, and 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 there are those that help you remember who you really are.
That's amazing.
And we get to still be around the humans that we were with here in this lifetime. We still get to be around them, so we're fine when we cross over. And I will say, because I do QHHT and beyond quantum healing as well, so hypnosis and regression. And the first time that I was regressed, one of the experiences that you experience death, you experience leaving this body, and it was as simple as me breathing out, and I felt my soul leave my body, and I will never ever forget that feeling. Even though I was in that theta state, I was meant to remember that feeling, so I could help put into words for other people what that feels like, if their loved one was incoherent, or and even the ones that may have been in pain when they're passing, They don't feel that.
No, I
No,
had
I had
my
my
QHHT
QHHT
when I was
when
in
I was in
Florida,
Florida,
and
and
I
I
I had
I
my
had
death
my death
experience,
experience,
and
and
then
then
he was
he
like,
was
"How do
like,
you
"How do you
feel?" And I
feel?" And I
said,
said,
"I feel
"I feel
such a
such a
peace."
peace." Yeah.
It was
It was
like,
like,
and in
and in
my
my
experience, I
experience,
was
I was
getting
getting
killed
killed
basically,
basically,
but
but
I
I
didn't feel
didn't
that
feel
way.
that
I was
way. I
like,
was like,
"Oh,
"Oh,
it's
it's
wonderful," and I'm
wonderful." And
like,
I'm like,
"Now how do
"Now
you
how do you
come up
come
with
up with
that?" You
that?"
know?
You know? Right, right. And you
So
take the experience and the knowledge with you of what it's like to go through that, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't break you. It
no.
doesn't hurt you on the other side. It just kind of makes you more robust as a soul, I guess, to go through experiences, but you don't feel like it's just it's crazy. It's really crazy how once you've gone through that experience, how you realize things are here versus what they are there, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
now
what
what
we were
we
gonna
were
talk
going to
about
talk about
spirit
spirit
guides,
guides.
so
Yes. So
can
can
we
we
connect
connect
with
with
our
our
spirit
spirit
guides,
guides?
and
Absolutely.
how would
Absolutely.
we do
Anybody
that?
can. I am of the mindset, just based on my own experiences, that we are wired. We are spirit.
Mhm.
We are. We have to, it's our battery pack. Our battery pack is connected to the, consciousness on the other side, the light and the consciousness, the love, God energy, whatever you want to call it. We are
Right.
connected to it. We are part of the divine. And so we have the ability, it's not everybody's path to do it. Not everybody's path to do it.
Yes.
Because we may have come in to this lifetime meant to experience what it's like to be a Southern Baptist evangelical, and who knows, and go through that life.
Right.
Right. And maybe our path here in this lifetime is to do witchcraft and be part of the earth. Who knows? Not
Right.
everybody is meant to keep in communication all the time. But you really can. I actually teach classes on how to do that, where I call it Spirit Guides 101. You learn
Mhm.
about the different types of spirit guides. You learn about how to name them, because we don't have names on the other side. We don't even have form. Like, we don't
Right.
look like humans on the other side. We are truly a color and light and energy. But when
Mhm.
we incarnate here, we take on a meat suit, is what I like to call it, and
Yeah.
and become animated, for lack of a better word. And um, anyway, so we can connect to our spirit guides by asking them to overshadow us in their energy. We can connect to them mental mind to mental mind, heart to heart. Um, there are a number of techniques you can do to get to know them. Our mind will name them. So when people are like, "Well, I don't know my spirit guide's names," like, make one up. We don't have names on the other side.
Right.
Literally, mine's like Dr. Mike, Lily, Dr. Patel, Star, and Tall
Oh,
Chief. You cannot tell me that those are their
gee.
names on the other side. That's just like how my brain assigned a name to them. Now, there is vibration in a name. So if they don't like a name, if a name doesn't, like if I say like Steve, they're going to be like,
I know
I
it's
know it's
Steve.
Steve. We don't want Steve, right? Steve's not the vibration we're going. Not that Steve's a bad name, but like,
Right.
maybe they don't want to be called Steve, you know. And there is feminine energy and there's masculine energy, not
Mm.
gender,
No.
but energy that flows through. So I can tell when a spirit guide is a feminine energy versus a masculine energy, but that comes with time. It comes with
Yeah.
time and work and connecting to those spirit guides. And you can even ask them for signs. If you're not a person who wants to feel them, then you can at least ask them for signs. I was listening to a book called Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. Anybody who's brand new on this journey or has recently lost someone, I highly recommend that book, because she is a world-renowned psychic medium and an author, and she talks about how she went to a convention. She wasn't sure how, if she'd be doing something. She said, "Well, if I'm supposed to be doing this, show me oranges," and like walks into a room and like there's oranges everywhere. And she's like, "Wow, that was quick." Like, you can ask for those signs, but you have to be open to how they come in. And I jokingly at the time, this was just in September. This is just a couple months ago, by the way. I
Oh, yeah.
jokingly said, I'm in the car listening to this audiobook, and I was going through a period of time where I was having a lot of conflict with what I thought was a friend group. It's more of like colleagues in the spiritual world. And I thought, something's just off. I feel like I need to break away. I need to separate away, but maybe I'm terrible and I don't know it. Maybe I need to do better. Like I'm going through all the self-evaluation process. It's like, okay, well, if it's them and I need to break away to create that space, show me an orange. So I'm saying these things out loud in my car because that's what I do.
Right.
And I was like, that's it. That's the sign. Oranges. I kid you not. This was on the way home from Camp Chesterfield at an event I was doing. I sit down. My husband says, do you want to watch this TV show? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. But I've got work to do. I'll watch it while I'm doing my work. So I'm on my laptop, watching the show. And all of a sudden there's a giant bowl of oranges. Not only that, Spirit like upped the game and was like a whole conversation about, would you like an orange? It's full of vitamin C. Like whole conversation about the oranges when I'm thinking it's just a prop on the island in this show. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Like that's within an hour. That's funny. And then I look down on my screen and I'm in Canva and there's a background called oranges and cream or something. I'm like, well, you just double down.
Yeah.
They will. And then there's that whole thing. Is it what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did they plant the seed for oranges? Did they align my thoughts with oranges, or did I choose oranges and they made it magic happen? You know what I mean?
No.
So did I originate the thought of oranges, or did they originate the thought of oranges, knowing that was going to be on TV and they could align me with that?
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Spirit's infinitely intelligent, so I'm going to put it on Spirit that it was their idea. But yeah, so I mean, I talk to my spirit guides all the time. Sometimes because I'm still human and living a human experience, there are times I'm like, I'll go 2 days and I'll be like, oh geez, hey, so sorry, I forgot you existed. Like, because I'll be in my regular routine, wrapped up in life, like, so how's it going? They don't care. They really don't. They're like, good to see you too. We never left.
Now for me, my very first thing was seeing angel numbers.
Mhm.
Is that from your spirit guides? I believe that is.
I believe it is. I believe that those are confirmations that either, again, as humans, we assign meaning to those things.
Right.
It is kind of like a game of charades, to be honest.
Yes.
Like they'll give us a sign and we have to pick it up. We have to see the sign, but ultimately you can ask, is this a sign from my spirit guide? If it is, maybe show me an owl. And by the end of the day, you're going to see an owl. Like
that's funny. I have owls everywhere. So that was confirmation.
Yep. And sometimes it's a word. Sometimes it's, I had a reading by a pretty well-known medium. And he said, before the reading, I had asked for a confirmation on something that I was kind of on the fence about. And I said, all right, if Aunt Cora, if you're the one that came through in that particular scenario, what sign do you want to give me? What sign do you want to give me through this medium? And an image of an owl popped in. And I was like, an owl? I don't even associate you with an owl, but okay, I trust you. I 100% trust that we're going to go with owl. So we go through the whole reading. At the very, very end, and this whole time it's my grandfather that's come through, he's given all these messages. At the very, very end, I'm getting ready to sign off. And the medium says, oh wait, he's showing me something. Like, do you remember those like blow pops? Those bubblegum blow pop things? And I said, yeah. He goes, but no, the ones with Tootsie Rolls. I'm like, yeah.
The owl.
The one with the owl that went, a 1, a 2, a 3, you know, and and he was like, and then he started kind of diving into what he thought that meant. I'm like, you can stop right there. That was literally a sign that I asked for to confirm something that we didn't even talk about today.
Oh, wow.
It was Spirit's way of coming in and mic dropping,
Yeah.
you know, and so I thought that was Spirit's clever again, infinitely intelligent, you know, um, and will bring through messages in any way.
So how do you now me, I do meditation,
Uh-huh.
but is there other ways to connect or just
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you could be. I'm not very good at meditating,
okay.
and I know you're supposed to have I will hear people say over and over again, if you want to be a good medium, you've got to have a meditation practice. I'm like, girl, I got no time.
I
And if I
meditate
do,
every day.
but if I do sit and take the time to meditate every day just for myself, I'm thinking about all the million things I need to do,
Yeah.
and it's not really doing me much good to sit there. Now, I will, to connect to my guides, sit, ground, do all the imagery. There's a breathing technique that I use that my mentor taught me. Um, because I'm not very good at meditating, if I'm focusing on my breath and just counting my breath, it centers me and grounds me and then allows me to clear my mind, quote unquote, and then invite my guides in, and then I can feel them. I can physically feel my guides when we do that. Um, but I'm not very good at a meditation practice per se. I would probably be an amazing medium if I could make myself do that, but I got a lot of things happening. And so what I do a lot of times is if I'm in the car, I will invite my protector guide to ride along. I will invite a loved one to ride along and just tell me what they're thinking or what they want me to know. And I'll get things in my head will pop in. Then I'll get messages or something will come on the radio. They'll manipulate the radio situation to bring up a song that reminds me of something or that has a message within it. So a lot of times I just go, yeah, if I'm in the car, if I'm on the go, if I'm stretching, because I teach dance, if I'm stretching and going through my warm up, which is it's a set warm up, my kids know it, we go through it. It's kind of like praying the rosary. You don't have to think about it after so long. You just do it, even though you're saying the words and doing the things. It's the same thing with when I do my warm up. And so that a lot of times I will actually connect to them that way, when I'm in those moments of just allowing energy, being open to energy flowing. That's the key.
Yeah, the meditation, they say if your mind is going crazy, then breathe.
Yeah.
Because when you're concentrating on breathing, you can't concentrate on other things.
Right. And yeah, our bodies breathe automatically.
Yes.
But like I said, what I will do is I will use not just, oh, look, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out now, but I will actually count. Okay, I'm going to breathe in for 6. I'm going to hold for 8. I'm going to breathe out for 10.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to normal breathing pattern. Then I'll do it again. And then once I feel myself just relax into that, I'll do my protection. I'll encourage my guides to come in, and they just whoosh right in. They're like, thought you'd never ask. Just come right on in.
Well, I love you on TikTok because you just have this great attitude. It's just I don't know, I just love it. But now for me, I'm just asking for myself. I get like downloads. Could that be my spirit guides? I mean, I'm like in a meditation and all of a sudden I'll just get this download. This is what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, oh, really? And then one day I had this great big download. I called my daughter and I was like, does this sound right? Before I shared it with anybody. She was like, this is brilliant. And I'm like, where do I get this stuff from?
And that is your spirit guides. That's your spirit guides. It can also be your higher self going, oh, okay, it's time. Remember that time you made a plan before coming into work, before coming into this life? Here it is. But I tell people it doesn't matter necessarily where it comes from. He said it's coming in, and that you're able to receive it.
Something.
And because there are people who receive their downloads in different ways. Some people receive it, it all depends on your clair, where your strengths and your clairs are, and which clair is the most open in that moment. Some people will literally hear things. Some people will just know things. Some people will see things. They'll like visualize something happening. Um, Sometimes people just feel it, like literally feel it enter, like the idea enter their body. And yeah, that is a way that spirit, or yeah, we'll just go with spirit,
Right.
says. That's how they let us know. Here we go. Here's your sign.
I know it's loud. I don't always get it in my meditation, but sometimes they're huge.
Yeah, yeah. I will get them. A lot of times, I'll get downloads when I'm doing readings for people,
Yes.
or like on TikTok. I'll do them on TikTok. If I'm doing readings, sometimes I'll say that I'm gonna, all of a sudden, like at one point I said out loud, oh yeah, I want to go on tour in the UK. Da, 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 da. I'm like, wait, what did I just say? What just
That'd be
came out of my
awesome.
mouth? And they're like, yeah, you should. I'm like, that wasn't my thought. That literally fell out of my face. And that's how spirit will
Wow.
do messages for me sometimes, because apparently I'm not a very good listener. They just have to like make me say
Yeah.
things. And then
That's
I'm
good.
like, I guess I'm going to do that again, you know. But I've learned my relationship with my spirit guides is all about trust,
Yes.
and learning how to, and also understanding that doubt, when I'm like, was that my thought or was that them, is actually a healthy coexistence, because it keeps me discerning. It helps me discern a little bit better, and makes me ask more questions, and
Right.
ask for signs, ask for proof. Okay, well, if you're going to show me that information, you better be bringing in some proof. You know, I want you to give me something here, and they do.
Yes.
100% of the time they do. They will bring me something else that will confirm what they showed me or told me. Um, but it's trusting them, just trusting that what I'm hearing is not my own mind. I do tell people, when you're learning how to, I teach another class called Learning the Language of Your Guides. And once you meet your spirit guides, you're like, cool, that felt good. Now what? It's like learning a whole new language. Just learning how to play charade, just learning sign language, just learning literally sign language. Like you're learning how to communicate and receive information with them. So forgot where I was going with that, but that's something that you establish a language with your guides, and you trust that they're going to bring in what you need when you need it.
Well, I'm glad you said that about doubting, because I never thought about it like that. But when I got that great big download in Florida, and I never told anybody, but I called my daughter and told her, because I was like, "Does this even sound right?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is brilliant." And then that was my confirmation, and I'm like, "I'm making a video." I made a video, and people were like, "Oh my god, I never thought about it." It was about dopamine and how we get hits to even good things that we're that's why we keep repeating it. And, because I always say people always saying I keep repeating the same thing. Well, one of the reasons is because we get this hit of
Yeah.
dopamine that keeps us coming back, good or bad situation.
Right.
And I was like, "Is this right?" And I was like, "It is." Yeah.
Yeah. Spirit they will bring in the knowledge when it's time. And I do tell people, when you're learning how to establish that language with your guides, um, that if you ask a question, the first thing that pops into your head is the actual answer. The second thing is you talking yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And
I
the
do that a
self-doubt.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all do, probably.
And I'll never forget, one way that spirit, helped me understand that and see that is, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I went live on TikTok, and I might get anywhere from like 30 people watching a live to 300. Like it just depends on the algorithm, the time of day, who else is on. There's so many factors that I cannot even control. And at this point, I'm an old hat. Like nobody's it's just like I'm not the shiny new penny anymore. So I might get about 100 people in a live, which is more than enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't
But
get
one
one.
day, I know one day I said out loud, okay, I'm going to go live today, and I'm going to do a reading that I will say everything that comes into my head. I'll say the first thing.
Oh,
I'm going to
wow.
trust, and it was an exercise in trust, and it's something that I had just talked about.
I never thought about it.
We just talked about it in my class in the previous week with my mentor and my classmates, and I was like, all right, I'm going to say everything, even if I think it sounds crazy. You better bring the big guns. Like you better bring me something good because I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to say everything that I hear, see, feel, and know. I log on. I kid you not, Suzette. There were 2,000 people
Oh my gosh.
in that live, and I do what's called platform mediumship. So I'll put out whatever information I'm getting, and I don't look at the screen necessarily because I don't want to see all the comments. I had no idea there were that many people in the room at that time. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm getting all this stuff, and my moderators are like, hey, it's for Daniel. It's for Daniel. I'm like, oh, okay. So who's Daniel? All right, Daniel, can he go live? Oh, he can. Cool. So I pull him up, and he's like, oh my gosh, so specific, like names, dates, like all these things. He's saying, this is incredible. He said, what's cool? He goes, and his name's Daniel John Medium. It's actually, that video's on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
Daniel
wow.
John Medium. I'd never heard of him at the time. He goes, wait, do you know who I am? And I'm like, no. And he's like, no, that's even better. And then so I continued to read him, and like such specific information was coming through, and even he was mind blown, like reached out to me later. And we've done some work together since then. But I had no idea who he was, which made it even better. He's like, I don't even follow you. He goes, I don't even know who you are either. This is amazing. And so now we're friends. but you know, it was trust. It was me allowing Spirit. Spirit said, here we go, and put 2,000 people in my room to witness this. And this is what Spirit does. Spirit wants us to know that we're going to be okay.
Right.
And if giving me a platform and I say, I will trust you, they're going to go all in. You know, they went all in. And I was rewarded for it in with the way of friendship and validation.
Yeah, that's weird. Because I was in Florida, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, what I want to do. And all of a sudden I'm driving down, and it says, my spirit guide says, have a podcast. So I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna put it out there. And I'm like, if anybody wants to be on my podcast, let me know. I mean, I'm talking hundreds, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got to do this. Because right now it's small, but that's where we all come from, small, and then grow and grow. And I don't want to be a big podcast just quite yet. I need to learn all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
I know. Well, you and I before were like, Mercury retrograde. I can't get this to work. What am I doing right now?
And we've had that with every episode. The last one was, I don't think it was that bad. The one before was a half an hour late because we had to go get her laptop. She was trying to do it on a phone. It wouldn't let her.
Oh.
So, and we didn't know that till the last minute. And that's why I texted you and said, you have to do a laptop, you have to do a download.
Yep.
So there is stuff to learn.
There is plenty, you know, just like with anything though. Like if you're jumping in and if you are trusting Spirit saying, do a podcast. So Spirit, my most recent download is I'm going on tour. I'm like, cool. Well, you better get on that.
Yeah.
You better align me with people that want that, because
Well, just put it out there because that's what I did, and it happened.
Yep.
But that's what I was by myself and just downloaded, and I said, "I'm gonna try." And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been it's kind I'm not gonna say it's been a line. It has, but for me, it's been like I broke my foot being late, but I think it's spirit saying, regardless what's going on, you're still going on. And
Yep.
because
Yep.
I haven't always trusted myself or my guides or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think you have to show up if you wanna really
It's truly
do the
a
big
test.
thing.
Yeah, it truly is a test in trust with spirit. Is it because you could have easily said no, and they'd be like, okay,
Oh, yeah. Next one.
next, right?
Who wants to do a podcast?
Pretty much, pretty much. So do
Well, I
you
can't
like?
wait to see you on tour.
Well, I'm and I'm looking at. I've got a friend who is she's she's like the best hustler, man. She's just like she is. She's a hustler, but in like the best way. But I know her through Dance World, and I've known her. Gosh, our kids were in car seats together, and now my younger
Oh.
like I've known her for 30 years. It's crazy, and I was like, hey, you're in Florida. This is not your wheelhouse, but I like she could be an agent of anybody. Like she's just that good.
Mhm.
I was like, what do you want to start hooking me up with some things in Florida? And she's like, absolutely, let's do this.
Florida's big time.
So she's in that like Orlando area, Central Florida area. So it looks like I'll probably be there. And my mentor has connections out, and I have connections out in Arizona, California, Colorado. So I think I'm going to start here because I think by next summer or next fall, early fall, I feel like I'm going to be in the UK doing some touring.
Oh, wow. Well, you said you
I'm like, I don't know how it's going to happen. I guess y'all need to figure this out because I don't know what to do to make that happen. And I feel like they're
Well,
like,
I know
"I
some
got you."
people in Tampa
Yeah.
that would be
But and I have
good
to
to
say,
do
like
that.
your event that I did, that Sally and I came and did, last year, that was really fun, and that was, a good example of platform mediumship. It was a good example of channeling demonstration, um, and also it was a good exercise in knowing full well that I had someone's loved one, and she wasn't taking it because I wasn't saying something specific. And how did I overcome that? How it was a good exercise in how to overcome the sitter not receiving information in front of a live audience in a live audience.
Right.
And
I remember.
I'll never forget that. I still tell that story to this day because I also had TikTok live going. I was live streaming it.
Yep.
And and I was like, why Wizard of Oz? Like I'm like off to see the wizard and blah 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 blah. And she's
Didn't
like,
he
no.
leave?
Well, and she was like, I don't know what you mean. And I was like, I feel like
yeah.
I'm drawn to you. And I was giving this message. No, she came up to me after the camera was off and after everybody was gone. She goes, well, my mom's name is Dorothy.
Well, I remember that event. Sally's coming on next month.
Yay, I love Sally. Sally and I
I
still do a lot of
do
work together.
She is so sweet. She actually called me or texted me in Florida and said, "Girl, I think you need to get on the phone." And we did. We got on FaceTime. She always knows, like, she checks in and sees what my vibe is. I was like, "Girl,
she knows me
to
too.
vibe you up." But that event, I mean, that's perfect. You need to do that. Even with Sally, if she can come. But not only that day where you changed Mary's life, my girlfriend, but they were so I couldn't believe that place that day. And even the bagel shop, because we had it at the bagel shop, they were like, "If you ever do this, you need to let us know," because they were just overwhelmed with orders and
Yeah,
all
they
this
were
stuff. And I'm like,
understaffed.
"Well, how was I supposed to know it was gonna blow up?"
It was, and that it was a standing room only.
And people didn't even
situation.
wanna leave. We were closing the doors, and they were they were standing there, like, waiting. I'm like, "This was meant to be."
And if you
And
can do
so
that
many
in
people were crying.
and that's not my goal necessarily. I tell people it's okay. They're like, they apologize for crying. I'm like, whatever. It's an energy release.
No, they
No, they
got what
got what
they
they
came
Yeah,
came
for.
for.
yeah.
So that's
But
what the
That's what the
crying
crying
was.
was.
oh yeah,
Every
Every
person,
person,
even her
even her
daughter,
daughter,
she was
she was
saying, "Oh my
saying, "Oh my
God, this
God,
is
this
what I'm
is what I'm
supposed to
supposed
do."
to do."
And I
And
said,
I said,
"Yeah."
"Yeah."
I mean,
I
people
mean,
were
people were
receiving
receiving
what they
what they
needed
needed
to.
yes.
to.
And that is the thing that I have to, as a practicing medium, I have to be prepared for, is that someone's not going to receive the information
Yeah.
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Right.
Right.
And
Well, that's
Well,
free
I
will.
can't take offense. I can't
Right.
take
No.
offense to it. I have to trust that just because it's not landing, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, just because it's not landing doesn't mean, because that person had in her mind who she wanted to hear from, and also stage fright. When,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if someone's there and all of a sudden the attention's on them, they're like, I don't know my name, you know?
That's how I
That's how I
feel
feel
sometimes
sometimes
on these
on these
podcasts
podcasts
when I get
when I get
excited to
excited
come
to
on
come
because
on because
I love
I love
talking to
talking to
everybody.
everybody.
But then I'm
But then
like,
I'm like,
"Oh my
"Oh my
God."
gosh."
Ooh,
It's kind of
right.
scary because
Because you know
there's
there's
lots of
lots of
people
people
looking at
looking
it.
at it.
My
My
YouTube
YouTube
channel
channel
is
is
growing, I
growing,
can
I can
tell.
tell.
So I know
So I know
people's
people's
watching.
watching.
Yeah. It amazes me. Like, I've got on TikTok in
You've got a
You've got a
lot.
lot.
2 years' time, I've got like 33, I'm almost at 34,000 followers.
I can't
I
believe
can't
that. I
believe that.
didn't
I
even
didn't
know
even
that
know that
until the
Instagram,
other
until the
day.
other day.
no, Instagram like 300, Facebook 250, Threads 50. Like,
Wow.
Wow.
YouTube, I'm not quite to 300 yet, I don't think. Like, I can't build the following anywhere except on TikTok.
Well,
And
that's where they
Where
can
they can
follow you
follow
then.
you then.
yeah, that's exactly. And I know people are like, "Oh, TikTok." Rah. I'm like, it's a platform. It's a platform like any other platform.
Right.
Right.
And if you think that they're collecting your data and Facebook's not, you're sadly mistaken. You're sadly mistaken. But the nice thing is with TikTok, I will say, as far as platforms go, anybody can see if I'm live.
Mm.
Whereas if I'm on Facebook or Instagram, the only people that can see me live are my followers.
Oh,
Oh,
really? I
really?
didn't
I
know
didn't know
that.
It's not like you just go out into the internet. It's just specifically your followers.
Right.
So,
Right.
That's
and
why
I
they're
have
always
that.
saying,
Saying,
please
please
subscribe.
subscribe.
Yes, yes. So I don't know, I'm experimenting with other platforms. I end up going back to TikTok just because I seem to be able to. I know how to work it. That's the big thing too. Is it's very user friendly. And I could just go on. I do free readings. I don't charge any money for readings on TikTok.
Mm.
They're not full,
Right.
Right.
private readings. But I do them for free on TikTok. That's my way of giving back. And that way
Now, do
also
you do it every
Every
day
day
or
or
no.
just
No, I used to build my following. Excuse me. Excuse me. I did for a long time. I was going almost every single day. And I was like, wow, I'm tired of looking at myself on screen. I can just, and plus, again, I own a dance studio. I have a lot
Right.
going on.
Right.
I will probably go live more this coming week because I'm off work for the next 2 weeks from the dance studio. We're closed. And I thought, what a great way especially for the holidays, all the people who need reassurance that their loved ones are around, that they're coming through, that they're going to be here for the holidays.
Yeah.
I've actually had spirits come through that expect a chair to be left empty for them at the table. They've
I've
requested
seen
that.
that.
They've requested, like, you keep a chair open for me because I will be there. And that's their
Aw.
loved ones on the other side.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, feel free. Oh, and it's always the Leo energies, by the way, that say things like, and feel free to toast to my amazingness. Like, they'll come, they're funny. Spirit is funny.
My
My
son's a
son's a
Leo,
Leo,
and
and
he's
he's
very
very
arrogant,
arrogant,
but
but
in a
in
good
a
way.
good way.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
a
a
Leo's a
Leo's a
different
different
kind of
kind of
animal, that's
animal,
for
that's
That's
for
sure.
me.
sure.
I'm a Leo.
You
And
too?
that's, yep. Like like I have crowns. Like I have actual crowns that I wear
I
because
do too. I
I
actually
actually
do.
do.
Ooh, fun. Fun. Yeah,
But
I've
I've seen yours. Yours is way
got
bigger.
I've got cool crowns too, but it's all for the show,
Right.
whatever aligns people with the message they need, that's what I'm going to do. And there are so many scary, and this is something I do want to say. It doesn't matter what the platform, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, um, Facebook, Instagram, any of those platforms, if you see readers who are speaking abusively, who are talking down, who are like, "Oh, you've got a curse. You better pay me $500 and I'll remove this curse."
I've seen that.
Oh,
That's
it can be so bad.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. But if you see that kind of stuff going on, just swipe on through. Just
Yeah.
ignore it. Because, ultimately our loved ones are okay in spirit. They're way better than we are. Matter of fact, I
Yes.
feel like sometimes they come through just to make sure to let us know, hey,
Are you okay?
you're fine. You're good. You're good. It's gonna be okay at the end. Like
You're
we're
having a bad
good.
day today.
Right. And they come through to help us and to help remind us that we're gonna be okay. But they're
Yeah.
fine. They are love and light and back to who they're supposed to be, um, whatever form. And they do come to us in the way that we knew them. So, because if you think about it, okay, so I do the hypnosis. You've experienced QHHT. You go
Yes.
through multiple past lives. Well, a past life is not going to come through for someone else. Like, so so my grandfather's former life is not going to come through. He's going to come through as my grandfather and give evidence of being my grandfather. He has been absorbed back into his higher self. He is no longer my grandfather, quote unquote, on the other side. He is back to his higher self, his normal self. But in order for me to recognize him and for me to feel that comfort of knowing he's okay, that evidence will come through. He will give evidence of himself coming through.
Right.
Even though that's not technically who he is now.
Right. On my QHHT, I had a little girl that lived in this little house. It was kind of old, 1900s,
Yeah.
and she was in a potato sack. That's what I seen.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't explain it. I'm thinking, is that me? Well, then I come and tell my mother that does not do any of this. And she said, that's your grandma. And I said, 11 people lived in the house. And she said, yes. She had 9 siblings and a mom and a dad that lived in that little. And I was like, oh,
Mind
yeah.
blown.
And because I was thinking, well, was that for me from past life? And then I just feel like abusement. So I think that she came in.
Yeah, they do. They will come in ways that we can validate.
Yeah,
They
and
will
I
not-
didn't at the time, like I said, I couldn't. And then I was telling my mom about it, and then validation.
Yep. And that is really important for any of your listeners. If you are getting a reading, if you are getting or if you're meditating, if you're a practitioner, if you're trying to do this work, understand that it may not land right away.
Yes.
And that's okay. I mean, I tell the story all the time, that when I was pregnant with my my son, who's now 20, and I was at a psychic party. It was so fun. I used to go to psychic parties. My friends and I always had psychic parties. We would bring a psychic in, and like everybody would take turns, and it was always fun, right? And most people did Tupperware. I did psychic parties. That's what we did. Pampered chef be damned. It's all about the psychics. And so it was time for my reading, and she's like, June, something going on, June. I was like, oh, my baby's due in June. She's like, oh, no, he'll be born at the end of May. Blonde hair, blue eyes, super cute. Oh, really good mix between like describe to the T what my son even is now.
Oh, wow.
20 years later.
20 years.
And I was like, she's like, no, he'll be born at the end of May. He was born May 28th. He was born 2.5 weeks early, because all my children are born 2.5 weeks early.
Wow.
And, but what was funny was she kept saying, no, June. June used to be my last name.
Oh, wow.
And the grandfather that was coming through, that was his last name. And I was like, I don't even like, okay. But I didn't at the time. I was not even doing tarot cards at that time. I was just into psychic parties. And that came, then it occurred to me like the next day, June. Okay. I get it
Yeah,
now.
and we're not I think we don't get all of it right now. I
No.
mean, you're getting say you're there for 2 hours and you're getting 2 hours of it. My QHHT was like 6 hours.
Oh yeah.
I
They're
couldn't
long.
even inhale all of it, you
No.
know? So later on, when I talked to this one, or I listened to the recording, I was like, "Oh, wow." Because it's just like that. You're not gonna know everything right then.
You're not. You're not. And I find that when Sally and I do, and if y'all are listening, check out sallyknob.com. She's amazing. She does a
Yes,
lot of energy healing.
love her. She'll be on next month.
I love her. And she, I totally forgot where I was going with that. Because she'll regress me. And we do something called multidimensional hypnosis by proxy.
Right.
She regresses me, so I go into theta level state. She hypnotizes me, and then I connect my higher self to, say you like, well, we do a lot of people in other countries where I will connect to their higher self, and do healing work for them, and but then every single time they give things that don't make sense at the time. So we'll record everything, I send it to the client, and then I'll tell them at least 2 to 3 weeks
Yes.
before we have a conversation, because things are going to be revealed like every single time something comes up within that 3rd week. And every time that's exactly what happens, is that something is revealed in that time that helps validate and prove what the experience was.
I think she just did me like a month ago, and I'm already moved back across the country. So, I mean, and it was so funny. She called me. She knew my energy. We did whatever, and I kept fighting it because that's not what I wanted. And as soon as I said I allow it, everything trickled, and it just everything just naturally felt natural.
It does. It falls into place without even trying.
It fell into place. It was like I just have to tell you. So the U-Haul to go down there was like $600 for one to put on the back of my Jeep. So on the way home, it was $60. And I'm like, I called them 3 times. Are you sure? Are you sure? $60. And I'm like, the gas was like falling. I'm like, where's I didn't understand any of it. So it was so easy to like, here, go back home for $100.
Right.
So I knew it was meant to be.
Yeah.
That's when we know. When it's going smoothly, it's meant to be. When you're fighting against it, which I do, then it's when you're pushing, it's not working out.
But I think generationally, I feel like, I know as a Gen Xer in my 50s, I was raised that if things seem really good, it's because, or if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So you're like, we're programmed with self-doubt. We're programmed to doubt that things are good. And if things are going well, clearly we're doing something wrong.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I'm 50, I'll be 55. And that's exactly how I think. And I think I question myself because of that, because we're actually supposed to do the opposite.
Yep. And if our life is going well, there's an underlying guilt.
Yes.
You think. And I remember as a kid in school, like if I got an A, there's always that one kid be like, "Oh, you think you're better than us because you got an A?"
Oh my God.
So I did everything I could to not get A's. And I'm like, and that, I think that's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast that we need to do. Because that's why they say find your light, and we don't. Because most of the time we're keeping ourselves, small.
Right, because our brightness makes other people uncomfortable.
Believe me.
And I've
I've had
learned,
that too many times.
yep, and I've learned just to
And
not care.
no, and we're not hurting anybody. We're actually here to help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Whatever you want to label people as helpers, starseeds, whatever, irrelevant. The fact is,
Light
we're here to
workers.
shine light. We're light, light workers, spiritual workers, whatever. We're here to shine light on, and it's okay to be human. It's okay to forget that you've got spirit guides for a couple of days and be a human. It's okay to do that kind of work. Um, it's okay to be plugged into our humanness. Otherwise, I don't want to come back and do it again if I don't have to. But,
Mhm. And I think that's why this podcast is here. We want to get everybody on there, or on here, and just make this normal, because it is to talk
it
to your
is.
spirit guides and to hear downloads. All this is my normal life.
Yeah. And it's not scary stuff.
It's not scary at all. It actually helps me a lot.
I have found, even beyond the I'm not afraid of death anymore, I'm just not afraid of outcomes anymore.
Mhm.
You
It's
know,
wonderful.
I'm not afraid of I just don't function in fear anymore. And I tell you what, it is so freeing.
Yes.
And I
Beautiful.
don't worry about what other people are doing. And the humanness is going to creep in, and occasionally I do catch myself worrying about things that really don't matter. But I have the wherewithal to go, now wait a minute, let's back up. What if the worst happened?
Yeah.
Okay, then what? We deal with it. We get up, we put one foot in front of the other, and we survive it, and we go on. And if we don't survive it, well, then we're back home.
And most of the time, the worst never happened.
Exactly.
We're
Exactly.
just it's our brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And also understanding, and I can't drive this home to my children enough. When you function in that negativity and that swirling negative energy of all these terrible things are going to happen, guess what? Yep, you're right, they will.
Yeah.
Because you are going to draw it to you.
Absolutely.
These aren't predictions, you're creating it. You're not predicting
Yeah.
terribleness, you're creating it.
Exactly.
And so how do you get out of it? And be solution oriented. How do you get out of that
Well, we
negativity?
have so many podcasts to talk about in this one. We could lead us to this one and this one. But I guess we need to get off here. And so we need to link everything or tell everybody how to get a hold of you so you can do your gifts.
Yeah. So I've got classes coming up. I actually teach if you're interested in learning how to meet your spirit guides, and how to develop your mediumship or develop even just spirituality in general, I offer a really inexpensive class twice a month called All Level Spiritual Development Class. It's on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9. And actually I've got a few spots open for my next class. That's this Tuesday, December 19th, 7 o'clock Eastern. And you can sign up on my website, and that is at www.spiritmessagesfromtheotherside.com. And I have all my services on there. You can just go to request, or it'll say readings, and it'll be like request, and you can see all the services that I offer and how much everything is. I do 45-minute readings. I do QHHT. Sally and I do MDH. And I do quantum healing, the BQH, that can be done virtually. Yeah, I got a lot going on. And I've got right now on sale for the holidays, I've got a 1-year tarot recording if you want your whole year laid out, vibration.
For the 2024.
Uh-huh.
Cool. I love that.
Absolutely. And then I've got more classes that'll be coming up in February. The Spirit Guides 101 and Learning the Language of Your Guides will be coming up. And I also teach platform mediumship, and I do one-on-one mentoring. Oh my gosh, I have a lot.
Oh
going
wow,
on.
you have a lot.
I do. I do. Yeah, the one-on-one mentoring I just started doing this year, and that has been very fulfilling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
well, send me your link, and I'll put it on my YouTube.
Okay.
That way people can get over there, and then
Absolutely.
they'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
To talk about spirit was always a good day. So
yes. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.